it's time to undo the provisional cast on and finish the project. And if you look at your provisional cast on, you have hopefully a nice long tail of yarn that you started with, and you've got this cotton yarn that you used. And if you hold it so that the working yarn tail is on the right, you're looking at what you did very first, which was knit across the provisional cast on. You went from right to left and knit across these stitches. I find it easier to see what I'm doing to get the stitches back onto a needle if I look at the other side. So I will turn it so that the tail is on my left, and now I'm looking at what is the purl side of those stitches that you knit, but it's easier for me to see them here. There should be 12 stitches to go into. One of them is right here on the edge. It's it'll be hanging down a little bit. It won't be quite at the top, but that's there. You can see the provisional yarn going through a loop of the main yarn. So that's the first one. And the others all look like these bumps that are sitting on top of the provisional cast on yarn. And I find that easier to see. So here's the second stitch, the third stitch, fourth, fifth, all the way across. The 12th stitch is here. You'll notice that's not quite all the way at the edge, but this one on the edge, which is also going down the side a little bit, you can see that your working yarn, the tail, is coming through it. So that stitch is secure and you don't need to get that one back on the needle. But the rest of these stitches will not be secure once the provisional cast on yarn is out, and so you need to put them on a needle. I would recommend a double pointed needle. I would recommend that it be quite a few sizes smaller than the one you used for the project. So if, like me, you used a 10.5, this is US size 5, so it's a lot smaller. 6 or 7 would probably work too. The thing is, it's easier to get into these stitches with a needle that's a lot smaller than the one you used to make them. So why not make it easy on yourself? Besides this double pointed needle, and you only need one, so just grab a spare from somewhere, you're going to need your tapestry needle, and you probably want a scissors handy just in case. Well, you'll need it to, cut your tails and all that sort of stuff, but sometimes the waste yarn doesn't pull free and you need to snip it to get it out, in which case you should be very careful so as not to cut your main yarn, and scissors with a little pointy tip like this are a good idea. All right, so let's do it. I've got to get 12 stitches onto this double pointed needle. Try not to split the yarn, just be careful as you go into them. As I said, this first stitch is coming up the side edge here, and I'm going under the right leg of these stitches. If you can see, the stitch originates down here and it goes up and over, creating this bump, and then back down to where it came out of. And this is the right leg. It's kind of like an upside down teardrop. Can you see that? I hope you can. So go under the right legs of each one, and then they won't be twisted on the needle. And since you're going into the right leg of each one, and that is consistent, you won't miss one. If you go into a right leg and a left leg, it's pretty easy to go under both legs of a stitch and under no legs of the next stitch. So the right leg, I skip over the left leg into the right leg of the next one. And this one, I'm having trouble not splitting the yarn. There we go, I got it. That is more of a by feel thing than by looking. You can tell if you split the yarn, if it feels like you're having to push through something. All right, and then as I said, this last one on the edge, it's already got the yarn tail going through it, so you don't have to mount it. But before I remove the waste yarn, I want to be sure that I have 12 stitches on this double pointed needle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Great, so that looks good. If I did it the way I remember, this tail of the provisional cast on, which is next to the tail of the main yarn, is the one that I should be able to unzip. So I'm going to give it a try. know what? I think I'm wrong. That's not coming easily, and it should just kind of come easily. So let's try this side. I'm not really, I'm not much of an expert when it comes to crochet. I kind of can't tell what I'm looking at. Okay, I was wrong. It was on this side. So if you, like me, are trying to undo one side and it's just not coming, try the other side, and that's probably the one that you should be that you should be doing. And once you do get that side, you can see I'm holding on to things so nothing comes off the needle as I'm doing this, but I'm just pulling this waste yarn, and it unzips itself. Sometimes it catches on the main yarn, but you can just sort of pull it apart and keep it going. Try not to use your scissors unless you really have to. But this was the right side. This is the way it should be, where it just kind of, you can just pull it. Okay, and then once you get to the very end, so I've got this blob here, I'm going to pull it the other direction, just get it out of there. All right, success. Let me get this completely out of the way. And now I have 12 stitches on a spare double point, and it's time for the tapestry needle. I'm going to pull this tail of yarn right through all of those stitches. So there we go. Thread it onto your needle, and you'll want to start on the side where it's attached, and one at a time with your tapestry needle, slip each stitch purlwise. This is not the way it's shown on the reverse side of your pattern. The needles are still in there, but I find it a lot easier to do it this way. I'm just taking them off one at a time, and when it gets a little bulky, then I pull the yarn through. There.